Hey, so this is going to be my tutorial on my painting process for Hattie McDaniel. You can see I started with a drawing. The reason I did this was because the painting was for a TikTok and I wanted viewers to immediately see who I was painting and get excited about seeing the end result. It's kind of fun to see a drawing get filled in. But I also find that painting over a drawing is a useful tool because all that shading done in the drawing lets me keep track of the lights and darks while I put on the paint, and I can get in my base layers like you see me doing now without losing any sight of them, without losing sight of the drawing. To begin, I put in one whole layer of the brown I mixed for her skin tone. Her coloring was pretty warm, so I added some red to mahogany to get this color. The only thing I didn't paint in was the eyes because I want them to remain the white of the paper. Nothing else is going to be that light. Even the lightest lights of her skin I want tinted in this base coat. I ended up doing the second layer because she was just too light after one, and you don't know what watercolor looks like until it dries, and the color always dries a lot lighter than it looks like when it's wet. So I needed a second layer. And this time I just extended that layer to the hair, which is going to end up black eventually, so I just thought I might as well begin darkening it now. I didn't film a step, but I'm going to explain it. You'll see in a second. So before the second layer completely dried, I used just water, no paint on my brush to wet the areas of the face where her lights are, and then I dabbed it up with a paper towel to pick up some of that paint. You can see it now. It left all those white spots and begun the modeling of the lights and darks on her face. Now I'm adding just a little bit of rose to her cheeks. I'm going to continue to do that through this whole process. Okay, we got our base layers in and it's time to build to the darks. Watercolor is weird because you don't paint on the lights. You create them by not painting them and letting the white of the paper shine through. So in a way, we're painting our lights by putting down the darks. We're going to do this by starting with the biggest shapes and then doing the medium shapes and then the smaller shapes. And we're going to get darker and darker and darker as we go, saving the detail work, and which is the darkest work, for the very end. Those things need to go on top of everything else, otherwise they're going to get washed away under the layers of water. So you can see I've got all my modeling in now done, and that's all her skin and her bone structure. It's all in there, and I've built from my lights to my darks, and it is time to do her features. This is the detail work I was talking about. These are the most striking and important parts of the face, and they're going to have the darkest lines in them. I'm going to put them in super carefully and on top of all my other layers so that they stand out. Moving on to the hair, this is mostly just an opportunity to get some super satisfying shots of the paint being laid down to make my TikTok a little juicier. I used a cooler dark brown layer for her hair overall, just leaving the lights alone, and then a layer of black on top in the darkest areas. Now, the lips are another opportunity for a very satisfying shot. Again, we are building with a base layer using a lighter tone of the color of the lips and then putting in the dark tone of that same color on top for the darks. For her clothing, I've found that the thing to do with clothing to make it most successful is when you just make it simple, at least in these portraits I make for TikTok. So they're normally just one or two layers of color with very light shading, if any. Watercolor is so beautiful when left alone to dry. It will naturally create its own texture. So it's simple, but it looks good. And honestly, simple is great in this situation because it's not going to take away any importance from the face. It's just going to complement it and be beautiful. Lastly, I did some outline in black just to make her pop a little bit more, and I was done. Please comment any questions you have, and thank you for watching.